Picture it. Total darkness. The kind of heavy, suffocating silence you only ever feel in the middle of the night. Then, at exactly 2:17 a.m., a phone rings. Now, that's an unsettling sound in the dead of night, sure, but it's not necessarily impossible. Unless, of course, the person on the other end of the line has been dead for 3 days.
In this explainer, we're stepping right into the shoes of the lead detective to unravel a psychological mystery that literally defies all logic. We're going to take a journey into a quiet town's darkest shadows. Let's dive right into the chilling story of the last call from Maple Street.
We gotta start with our victim, Emily Carter. To the outside world, she lived a completely, totally normal life. She was 25, a quiet, kind girl who worked at the local bookstore, and she actually called her mom every single night. But you see, that innocent smile was kind of a mask, because in reality, Emily was harboring some incredibly dark, incredibly dangerous secrets. I'm talking about hidden recordings of things she was never, ever meant to hear. Which brings us to part 1, the disappearance and the discovery. Maple Street is this quiet little neighborhood just outside Ohio. It's the kind of suburban street where people leave their doors unlocked, where you never hear sirens late at night. People just trusted the silence there. But on October 14th, that trusting silence completely shattered when Emily Carter just vanished. The timeline of these events immediately paints a chilling picture. Let's look at it. Day 1, Emily is reported missing, and her car is found abandoned. Day 3, her body is tragically discovered in the woods. But here is the absolute impossibility of this whole case. On the night of Day 3, hours after her deceased body was secured by police, someone or something makes a phone call from her device. Detective Mark Sullivan, a 15-year veteran of the force, took the case. And his initial findings were, well, deeply ominous. Her car was found near an abandoned gas station, right on the edge of town. The engine was off, the door was left slightly open, yet there was zero sign of a struggle, and absolutely no witnesses. Sullivan knew instantly, disappearances like this, they're never random. Someone took her. So Sullivan pulls Emily's phone records to try and retrace her final steps. Her last outgoing call before vanishing was at 11:42 p.m. to an unknown number. But this wasn't just your standard blocked caller ID. When Sullivan dug a little deeper, he hit a terrifying dead end. It was a phantom caller. No registration, no service provider. The number simply didn't exist in any system. It was literally a ghost in the machine. 3 days later, the search came to a devastating end. Emily's body was found in a shallow, foggy patch of forest, just about 2 miles from Maple Street. Now, the autopsy revealed no signs of forced injury, no clear cause of death, but investigators were left deeply, deeply unsettled by one haunting detail: her expression. Her face was frozen in pure fear. It looked as though she had seen something no human being should ever see. The case was already growing cold, and the leads were completely drying up. Sullivan was back at the precinct, just trying to wrap his head around this impossible lack of evidence. And then, the phone on his desk rang. He picked it up. "Hello?" he asked. There was only silence on the line. And then, a quiet whisper. "Help me." It was Emily's voice. Sullivan absolutely froze in disbelief. He had literally just seen her lifeless body hours ago. "Emily?" he asked. But the line abruptly cut dead. So, how exactly do you investigate a ghost? Let's step inside the locked room and look at this psychological mystery. Sullivan and his team immediately put an emergency trace on that impossible whispered call. And the trace actually came back with a location. The call hadn't come from the deep woods or some disposable burner phone. It came directly from Emily's own house on Maple Street. Officers rushed to the scene, weapons drawn, adrenaline absolutely pumping. But when they got there, they found the house completely sealed. It was locked from the inside, no broken windows, absolutely no signs of forced entry. They actually had to breach the heavy front door themselves. Once inside, the house was submerged in darkness and this really heavy silence. But as flashlights swept the rooms, they started noticing subtle, deeply unsettling signs of a disturbance. Things were just slightly wrong. Heavy furniture had been moved inches out of place. Framed photos on the walls were tilted. Someone or something had definitely been moving through the dark. The officers moved into the dining room, following the GPS signal of the trace. And there, resting right on the wooden table in the dark, was Emily's cell phone. An officer carefully reached out and touched it. And guys, it was warm. It was physically warm to the touch. It was radiating the exact kind of heat a phone produces right after someone has just finished making a long call on it. But here is where the psychological dread really peaks. When the officers picked up that warm phone and pressed the screen, it didn't turn on. The battery wasn't just low, it was completely 100% dead. Which obviously raises a terrifying, impossible question. How does a dead phone make a call? How does a device with zero power transmit a whispered voice from a woman who has been dead for 3 days from inside a locked, perfectly empty house? The suspense in that dark dining room must have been absolutely suffocating.
Well, the answer, as it turned out, wasn't supernatural at all. It was something much more grounded, and honestly, much more violent. Sullivan began searching the area around the table, and taped underneath it, hidden in the shadows, he found a tiny, blinking recording device. When they extracted the audio, they didn't hear ghosts. They heard multiple voices. They heard harsh whispers, aggressive arguments, and finally, they heard Emily screaming.
That audio cracked the entire case wide open and revealed Emily's true, hidden life. See, the voice arguing with Emily belonged to Daniel Hayes. Publicly, he was a highly respected businessman, a wealthy pillar of the local community. But in the shadows, Hayes was running a massive, violent money laundering operation, and he was orchestrating the disappearances of anyone who got in his way.
Let's trace Emily's brave yet fatal journey. Emily had discovered Hayes' operation entirely by accident through her work at the bookstore. But instead of staying quiet, she started collecting proof. She secretly recorded conversations. She was getting ready to go to the police. But Hayes found out. On the night she vanished, he was that unknown number. He called her at 11:42 p.m. to, quote-unquote, talk. She went to meet him, and she never came back.
But a voice survives. Emily Carter knew she was walking into a potentially deadly trap that night. She knew the power and the violence of the man she was dealing with, so she made a plan. She ingeniously ensured her story would be told, even if she didn't survive the night.
Emily had rigged the hidden recording device under her table with a custom auto-trigger system. She patched it directly into her home's landline network, overriding her dead cell phone entirely. She programmed it with 2 simple steps. Step 1, if the device detected 48 hours of absolute silence in her home, meaning she hadn't returned, it would activate. Step 2, it would automatically dial the police precinct and play a pre-recorded snippet of her voice. Help me.
That haunting call from beyond the grave was the ultimate catalyst. With the hidden device uncovered, the police had all the audio proof they needed. Daniel Hayes was arrested immediately. His entire money laundering and extortion operation was systematically dismantled. Every dark secret he had buried was brought into the blinding light of justice. And all because of one delayed phone call.
Emily Carter didn't survive that October night, but her voice did. She turned a silent, locked room into a messenger for the truth. And it leaves us with this final, chilling thought to ponder. When the world goes completely quiet, who is listening in the silence? Sometimes the truth doesn't actually die. It just waits for the exact right moment to call. Thank you so much for watching this explainer. Until next time, stay curious and pay attention to the silence.